Hey everybody, welcome back to Live Sound Tips. Sorry I've been absent for such a long time, but now with this COVID-19 novel coronavirus, whatever you call it, thing that's going on, I've got a lot of time off on my hands like most of y'all do. If you're watching these videos, you probably work in the live entertainment industry. So I wanted to tell you some stories and just give you some advice and give you some perspective on things that are happening right now. Things are just changing so rapidly that I just felt like I really need to get some kind of a message and some kind of word out to my subscribers and you know, even if you've never seen this channel before, you're not a subscriber, just to out to people in the live events industry in general. I mean, talk about moving fast. Thursday, which was the 12th, was my last shift at Bottom of the Hill before a bunch of shows started getting canceled. I was actually hired about a month earlier by the band The Ballroom Thieves, a really excellent band that's out of the Boston, Cambridge area, out in Massachusetts. And their management said, hey, you know, the last time the band came through like a year and a half ago, you know, they worked with you and they really liked working with you, and they were hoping that you could be sure to be the engineer on the shift that night. And then they've got their last show in Los Angeles is the very next day, and that's the end of their West Coast run before they fly back to the East Coast, and then they've got like 6 more weeks of touring lined up after that. And things are changing so rapidly that by the time the day of the show even got there, they were already couldn't take me to Los Angeles because there was talk that that show was going to get canceled, and it did indeed by the very next morning turn out that that show was canceled. They had to cancel the remaining 6 weeks of touring that they had lined up, which really sucks for them because they are starting touring on a brand new album cycle. So, you know, when you've spent all this time making all these songs and doing all this stuff and, you know, spending a fortune recording everything and mixing and mastering and all that, and then getting the record put out, and then all of a sudden now you can't even tour anymore to promote that record. It's a huge blow to them, you know, both emotionally and financially. So I just want to give them a shout out and say that it has always been a pleasure working with them and their crew, and they're just really great people and they're making really great music. I feel really, really terrible for them that things have developed the way that it has. And of course, there's millions of people that are affected by this right now. Just they happen to be fresh in my mind because that was the last show that I mixed just a few days ago. So, you know, again, I just wanted to give a shout out to them and say, hey, if you're not familiar with that band, go check them out. They're super cool. Buy some downloads off of them if you can afford it. And yeah, so to get to some of the updates and other things that I wanted to talk about today, you know, even though a lot of us, especially now that we're on lockdown here in Northern California, there are 7 counties around the Bay Area as of this filming, which are on, it's not like martial law, let's not get carried away, but they are all being advised to shelter in place, and they're only keeping open like necessary businesses like grocery stores, gas stations, pharmacies, obviously hospitals and healthcare and that kind of stuff. And they're advising that restaurants only be open if they're offering takeout. So a lot of us around the country are being quarantined or being isolated in some way or another. And I've written about isolation as a topic before on the written blog on the Live Sound Tips page. And one of the things that I wanted to get across is that you know, my fan base and the people that I'm aiming my advice and my messages at are mostly beginners, relatively new people in the live concert industry. And that means that typically if they're beginners, they're starting off in the bars and the small clubs. The danger of being at that level is that so many of those people, you know, they're basically working on their own as engineers. You're not working in a venue that's large enough to have, let's say, your own separate monitor engineer and a production manager and an LD and all of these other folks around you, where you've got colleagues and coworkers who, you know, you can kind of bounce things off of and share ideas with, and, you know, vent to about like frustrating shows or whatever, or just like talk about cool shows that you've done recently and things that really impressed you. So check out that written blog, because I think that's important in a time where we are all now not only being sort of isolated from colleagues and coworkers, but we're actually being physically isolated and separated from a lot of other people. It's hard on people's mental health. You know, the coronavirus thing has a lot of people scared about their own physical health and well-being, and the potential to spread something to other people. And that's, you know, these dangers are very real. Like, I've been reading a lot of stuff and I've been keeping up on this topic, and this is legitimately like a really scary time for a lot of folks. And so even though we are having to isolate from one another, I just really want everybody here to regularly check in with those bands that you know that are canceling all of their appearances and shows, and check in with those other engineers and venue staff and people. Let's not just drift too far away from other people. Like, yes, we have to stay at home, and yes, a lot of us cannot go to work and be around our coworkers and colleagues, but that doesn't mean that you can't be in touch with them. I've probably been spending more time in the last 72 hours on Facebook than ever before, and I've had a lot of really good messages back and forth with people and just checking in with people, and people who out of the blue were checking in with me to make sure that I was doing okay. And so I really want to encourage all of y'all to just look, in a time like this, it is not a time for fear and scarcity-minded ideas to rise to the surface. Yes, we're seeing people hoarding toilet paper. We're seeing people hoarding hand sanitizer and soaps and all these other things. And yeah, that's disappointing. But the reality is there's been way more examples that I've seen personally in my life in the last 72 hours, and a lot of examples that I've seen in the news media that are getting shared of people stepping up and doing the right thing and being cool to each other and helping each other out and going out and shopping for groceries and things like that for elderly people that are not able to go to the stores because they're at high risk if they're exposed to other people. You know, something I've shared, you know, as strange or corny or silly as it may seem, is, you know, I've shared it a couple times now on some of my social media stuff, the Mr. Rogers quote about, you know, in times of crisis, just go out and look for the helpers. And I really want to encourage everybody to do that. Be a helper, help out where you can. I realize that this is devastating financially for a lot of people, but most states right now are rapidly working to pass legislation and put out you know, relief funds that will be available for people so that they can get food stamps and they can get unemployment insurance and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you see that stuff, don't keep it to yourself. Share that with people in your communities. You know, any sort of good ethical opportunities that come up, like, don't be that asshole who buys up all the hand sanitizer in a 100-mile radius and then tries to sell it for $50 a bottle on Amazon. But if you see good ethical opportunities where you can help people out and you can also spread that information so that they can help out as well, you know, make that stuff available to people. Just don't get caught up in a mindset of scarcity. That's just not, if there's anything I've learned over many, many years of my life and things that have helped make me successful, it's that living with a scarcity mindset is not the route. It's not the way to go. Hoarding things to yourself, whether it's information about good jobs or contacts for jobs or any kind of opportunities, the more you spread that stuff around, it comes back to you in even greater quantities. So just, you know, don't get caught up in all the bullshit that's going on right now. I know there's a lot of disappointing stuff out there, but if you actually pay attention and you look for it, there's a lot more good going on, and people are rallying and they're coming together and they're helping each other out. And again, like, I've had people out of the blue contacting me saying, hey man, like, my job is pretty stable right now because of this, because they work in an industry like healthcare or something out. And I've had numerous people completely out of the blue just reach out and say, hey man, you want me to send you $100 on Venmo or something? And there's, like I said, look, let's all keep it in perspective. There's a lot more good going on right now than bad. I realize you're stressed. I realize you're under a lot of strain. I hope that wherever I post this video, Facebook, YouTube, wherever else, that people will maybe say things in the comments and offer to be there for other people, if people need to complain or vent or need a shoulder to cry on or whatever. Like, I get it. The live events industry is just getting drilled by this, and it sucks. But, you know, the other sort of final note that I wanted to say today with perspective all of this is, if you're not in an area that is under some sort of mandatory quarantine or lockdown, you know what? If you are going to be out of work for the next few weeks, find out from the owner of your venue if you can get access to the venue, and go in there and start experimenting with new techniques of, you know, just messing around with music. Maybe you can get some live tracks of something that you can play back to the board so that you have kind of like a multi-track situation off of a laptop or something. And, you know, just so that you can put some music that can actually be mixed through the board. Get caught up on all of your maintenance. I've got some videos that I've been meaning to shoot for a long time about how to do things like repairing mic stands and stuff like that I'm gonna get made. And I'm gonna try and use this time while the bottom of the hill is closed and I have access to the venue to get a lot more of these videos shot. I can't be there today, which is why I'm standing out here and chilling with all the cows that are out here in the field, just taking a day at home to kind of figure some things out. So yeah, you know what? I recently read the book, I think it was I forgot the author's name, Malcolm Gladwell, I believe, and it was the Outliers book. And you know, going back to that whole thing about how everybody's got to put in their 10,000 hours towards greatness, if there's a way that you can use all of this time off from being laid off from your venue gig, or if you're even a musician who watches these videos, you know, just keep practicing, you know, get out in the woodshed and start practicing, and just do what you can to not fall off and keep getting your 10,000 hours in. It's super important. But going back to the thing about mental health and checking in with other people and taking care of other people, one thing I do want you all to check out, aside from checking out the Ballroom Thieves, a great band who, again, I highly recommend, and I want you to check them out, and I want you to buy their downloads and give them a listen and send some love to them on their pages and give them some encouragement. I also want you all to check out an article called Almost 100 Ways to Not Freak the Fuck Out During the COVID-19 Virus. And it's by Ashley Fairbanks. So check out Almost 100 Ways Not to Freak the Fuck Out by Ashley Fairbanks. And if you dig that, and if it helps you with your emotional and mental state of mind, and if it gives you some good ideas and strategies for dealing with this incredibly stressful thing that we are all going through, which we are all in together, okay? Just as another reminder of that. If you find that useful, again, share it. Don't start hoarding things. Don't hoard supplies. Don't hoard groceries. Don't hoard information. Don't hoard opportunities. Share with everybody else. Be ethical about how you deal with this whole thing, and we will all get through this together. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.